On my left, I have Michael Copey, who's from the Governor's Office of Emergency Management. To my right, Kevin Wisely, who is from the Office of Emergency Services also. State Police, we have Captain Teppo. We have Sam Zhao from the Department of Transportation. He's the Assistant Commissioner. Pat Barnes, who's the Capital Region DOT Director. We also have Chris DeBolt, who is the Washington County Administrator, Susanna Slater from DOT, and Megan Baker from DOT, and we have a number of other DOT professionals who are with us today. We're here to talk about a snow event. Snow is nothing new in the North Country, as we know. This snow event is going to be a little different. The duration of the snow event is going to be longer than usual and could make situations more complicated. We're looking at about 3 days of significant and steady snowfall. In the North Country, over the 3 days, we're looking for a lake effect that could drop approximately 20 inches of snow. That's a significant amount of snow. The good news is it's over 3 days, so if we keep up with it, it should be manageable. But 20 inches of snow is nothing to be underestimated. We're looking at about the same in the Chautauqua Ridge area. Syracuse, over 3 days, we're looking at about 8 inches, and that will be manageable again if we stay on top of it. Finger Lakes, Mohawk Valley, also about 8 inches of snow. So as you can see from the forecast, it's a wide geographic area that we have to cover. You have the Tug Hill Plateau, obviously, which is going to be of special concern. But then it is an incident that will cover the entire North Country, Finger Lakes, Mohawk Valley, etc. So it is going to be challenging. We've already had 81 automobile accidents since the snow started. Luckily, none of them serious, but people who are getting in their cars should exercise caution. I know everyone's familiar with the snow in this part of the state, but again, the snow, the icing, it's going to be cold. It's a dangerous combination. We have other equipment that we are ready to deploy to these areas if we need to. We have equipment on standby from other parts of the state. Capital District Region South, we're not expecting significant snowfall. New York City area, Long Island, and what we have worked very hard at doing over the years is having a more mobile response capacity. In the old days, the North Country had the number of trucks they had. Whatever happened, that's what you had. We've changed that method of operation, where we've added equipment across the state and we've made the equipment more mobile so we can adjust with the weather patterns as they develop. So that equipment is on standby, drivers are on standby. We've asked the National Guard to be on the ready if things get worse than expected. We could also deploy National Guard personnel. These are projections of snowfall. As we know, sometimes the reality is different than the projections. I made a terrible mistake once, one of the terrible mistakes I've made while I've been governor, where I suggested that the weather forecast was wrong. I was barraged by weather people from all across the United States for suggesting that the weather forecast was wrong. I will not make that mistake again. But let me say this. These projections are estimates, and the weather forecasters do their best they can with the estimates. However, weather patterns change, and if a weather pattern changes, then the reality changes. We're talking about 3 days. That's a relatively long period of time. You could see a change in the weather. And then 20 inches of snow, which is serious in and of itself, could become more. And we've seen that many more times than I care to remember. We've seen the projections much different from the reality. So our motto is prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's exactly what we're doing. I'd also like the officials in local governments, you know what roads are problematic, you know what drainage areas are problematic, you know what streams are problematic. If you're going to need help, please tell us sooner rather than later. It gets frustrating when you get into the heart of a storm and then the phone starts to ring and local officials say, I need help here or I need help there. So for local officials, act sooner rather than later. If you need help, tell us now before we have a really significant snowfall. We have the resources. We can get you the resources. We can get you the help you need, but we need to know sooner. And again, everybody has a responsibility in these situations. Drivers have a responsibility. If you see the snow is getting heavy, play it safe. Don't go out. If you go out and you get stuck, you just make more work for everyone. And then we have to send emergency personnel out to put themselves in a dangerous situation to help motorists. So this team of professionals, I believe, is the best in the country. They're trained. They have more experience than they care to remember. They have the right equipment. But we don't want to put them in a situation where they have to endanger themselves. Same with the New York State Police. We have 550 troopers on duty. They stand ready to help. But again, let us help the emergency responders do their job. If you don't need to be on the road and the snow is heavy, please don't. If you're a local official, you think you're going to need help, let us know today before the snowfall really starts. Any questions for myself, any of my colleagues? Now is the time.
Governor, do you ever consider not compensating during the downside to knowing that it could be a problem and not putting up with it?
Yes, that has happened on numerous occasions. You get a weather forecast that says up to 20 inches of snow in 3 days. Let's say it turns out the sun is shining, it's 60 degrees, and there's no snowfall. And then people say, what was that governor talking about? That happens. We had significant storms that were targeted to hit New York City. Storm Irene, Storm Lee. They were targeted to hit New York City. We deployed everything to New York City. You know what happened in New York City? Nothing. Upstate New York was deluged. So we can only act on the projection. And sometimes the projection turns out to be wrong. When you're governor of the state of New York, you learn you're going to be criticized no matter what you do. Right? So I would rather always err on the side of caution. If it turns out to be better, great. I'm more concerned of the situation where it turns out to be worse than expected. And I don't want the state government to be in a position where anyone can say, we took it too lightly, we weren't prepared, I'd rather over-prepare than under-prepare. You know, the whole situation of emergency management has changed dramatically. My father was governor for 12 years. He's passed away, Andrew Cuomo. He was governor from 1982 to 1994. I can count on one hand the number of real emergencies that the state responded to during that time. Most of them were predictable, heavy snowfall, and the state was basically responsible for the thruway and the main arteries. And the state left everything else to the local officials. Those days are gone. And the climate has brought us extreme weather. You can have a whole political debate about climate change. I tend to be more of a practical individual. I can tell you, we have hurricanes that we never had before. We have floods that we never had before. We have tornadoes that we never had before, extreme rain, extreme snow, and we adapted to it. And frankly, the state was not prepared to deal with it. We've purchased equipment, different types of equipment. We've done more training than we have ever done before. And we now have a statewide emergency response team that we never had before my administration. More equipment, more training, and more flexibility. It's not that we have statewide weather events. Sometimes we do. But usually we have regional weather events. So now we're talking about the North Country, Finger Lakes, Mohawk Valley. New York City is fine, Long Island is fine, that's what the projections are. And rather than the old method of saying, well, we have 100 trucks in the North Country, whatever happens, those 100 trucks have to handle it. Our new way is to say, if 100 trucks can't handle it, we'll bring in another 200 trucks from other parts of the state. Buffalo at one time had 7 feet of snow. You want to talk about extreme weather. Buffalo knows snow. They had never seen 7 feet of snow. We, within 24 hours, had equipment from all over the state going to Buffalo. So the mobility of our response team is a great asset. We have not done any significant redeployment here yet. Again, by the current projection, yes, it's 20 inches of snow, but it's over 3 days, and we believe it is manageable. But if we see any uptick in that snowfall anywhere along the way, you will see an instantaneous response from the state where we will send more equipment. Anything else?
Can you talk about Steve's limousine and the pulling of plates in the wake of the accident? Do you think DOT's taking this, DOT should have pulled plates of Steve's limousine before October 6th?
Prestige Limousine was an horrific, horrific situation. I mean, it shocked the entire state, by the way. I talk to people all over the state who bring it up, and tears come to their eyes when they bring it up. What I try to do is, what can you learn from the situation? DOT, Department of Motor Vehicles, have a certain set of laws that they follow. DOT does not have the capacity to use its own discretion, because motor vehicle operators, limousine companies, trucking companies, they have rights too. So DOT can only do what they are legally allowed to do. DMV can only do what they're legally allowed to do. They don't have the capacity to pull a license without a hearing process, an administrative review process, etc. So we need legal changes that give DOT and DMV the authority that they need, that if they see a vehicle that is unsafe, I believe safety first. And I would be much more aggressive in saying, DOT inspects a vehicle, it doesn't pass, I would give DOT the ability to pull the plates. I would give DOT the ability to boot that vehicle. I'd give DOT the ability to call the state police and tow that vehicle. That is not the current state of the law. I am going to advocate for legal changes, but I would be much more aggressive than the current law allows. I respect the rights of the vehicle owner and people who are operating a business. I get that. But the safety of the passengers, to me, comes first. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out.